Baby found a pregnant German shepherd, collapsed in a garbage dump. What happened next left everyone in tears. The story you're about to listen to will shock you to your core. What this little boy did when he found a dying dog will make you believe in miracles again. Like, share, and don't forget to let us know where you're watching from. Rain pounded against the windshield like angry fists, turning the world outside into a blur of darkness and shadows. Lightning split the sky open, illuminating the deserted road for a brief, haunting moment, before plunging everything back into darkness. 5-year-old Noah pressed his small face against the cold window of his father's truck, his breath creating tiny clouds of fog on the glass. "Daddy, are we almost home?" Noah's voice was barely audible over the storm's fury. His blue eyes, wide and curious, followed the path of raindrops racing each other down the window. Ethan Matthews gripped the steering wheel tighter, squinting to see through the downpour. The windshield wipers worked frantically, yet barely keeping up with the relentless rain. "Almost, buddy. Just a few more minutes." They were taking the back road home, a shortcut past the town's outskirts where abandoned buildings stood like forgotten ghosts, and the local garbage dump sprawled in neglected heaps. It wasn't the scenic route, but it would get them home faster on this miserable night. Noah's tiny fingers suddenly pressed against the glass. "Stop, Daddy! Stop the car!" His voice rose with urgency that made Ethan's heart skip a beat. "What? What is it?" Ethan slammed on the brakes, the truck skidding slightly on the wet asphalt before coming to a halt. "There's something moving over there." Noah pointed toward the edge of the garbage dump where piles of trash cast strange looming shadows in the headlights. "In the trash! I saw it move!" Ethan sighed, running a hand through his damp hair. "Noah, it's probably just trash blowing in the wind or a raccoon. We should get home." But Noah's eyes filled with tears. "Please, Daddy, please check. What if someone's hurt?" Those words, so innocent yet heavy with concern, made Ethan pause. His son had always been sensitive, always wanting to help others. Ever since Ethan's wife had passed away 2 years ago, Noah had become even more attuned to suffering, as if he could somehow prevent others from experiencing the pain he'd felt. "Okay, buddy, wait here." Ethan reached for the umbrella in the back seat. "Lock the doors. I'll be right back." The moment Ethan stepped out, the rain engulfed him, soaking through his jacket despite the umbrella. The wind howled, almost knocking him off balance as he made his way toward the garbage heap Noah had pointed to. His flashlight beam bounced across soggy cardboard boxes, broken furniture, and plastic bags ripped open by scavengers. "This is crazy," he muttered to himself, the rain running down his face in cold rivulets. He was about to turn back when his light caught something, a slight movement under a torn tarp. Cautiously, Ethan moved closer, pushing aside a broken chair with his foot. He pulled back the edge of the tarp, and what he saw made his blood run cold. A dog, a German shepherd, lay motionless except for the shallow rise and fall of her ribcage. Her tan and black fur was matted with mud and blood, clinging to a skeletal frame. But what shocked Ethan most was her swollen belly. The dog was pregnant, heavily pregnant, and clearly dying. "Oh God," Ethan whispered, crouching down. The dog's eyes fluttered open briefly, deep amber pools filled with pain and exhaustion. She didn't growl or try to move away. She simply hadn't the strength. A knock on the truck window made Ethan turn. Noah had pressed his face against the glass, his eyes wide with worry. Before Ethan could motion him to stay put, his son had already unlocked the door and was running toward him, rain pelting his small body. "Noah! I told you to stay in the car!" Ethan shouted over the storm, but Noah was already beside him, rainwater streaming down his face, mixing with tears. "Is it a doggy?" Noah whispered, dropping to his knees beside the German shepherd. "Daddy, she's hurt." "Don't touch her, buddy. She might be—" But Ethan's warning came too late. Noah had already placed his small hand gently on the dog's head. What happened next made Ethan's hair stand on end. The dog, who had been barely conscious moments before, lifted her head slightly at Noah's touch. A soft whimper escaped her, and she weakly licked the boy's hand. "She likes me, Daddy." Noah's face lit up with a smile that broke Ethan's heart. "We have to help her. She has babies inside her tummy." Ethan looked from his son to the dying dog and back again. Taking in a stray was the last thing he needed right now. He worked long hours at the construction site, could barely keep up with bills, and still struggled to be both mother and father to Noah. A dog, especially a pregnant, possibly sick one, would be an enormous responsibility. "Noah, we can't just... Please, Daddy!" Noah's voice cracked with desperation. "She'll die if we leave her here." His small fingers curled around the dog's paw, holding it as if it were the most precious thing in the world. "Look, she's cold. She's scared." Thunder crashed overhead, making the dog flinch weakly. Her eyes, barely open, seemed to look directly at Ethan, not begging, just accepting whatever fate would come. "She'll die, Daddy," Noah whispered again, his voice nearly drowned by the rain. "Just like Mommy did." Those words hit Ethan like a physical blow. Noah rarely spoke about his mother's death, carrying the grief inside him like a silent burden. To hear him draw that parallel now, between his mother's passing and this abandoned dog, was almost too much to bear. Ethan closed his eyes briefly, feeling the rain wash over him. When he opened them, his decision was made. "Okay, buddy, let's get her to the truck." Noah's face transformed with hope. "Really?" "Really, but be careful. She's very weak." Ethan shrugged off his jacket, gently wrapping it around the dog's trembling body. As he lifted her, he was shocked by how light she felt, despite her pregnant belly. She weighed almost nothing, just skin, bones, and the precious cargo she carried. The dog didn't struggle as Ethan carried her to the truck, Noah running ahead to open the back door. They created a makeshift bed from the emergency blanket Ethan kept in his truck, placing her carefully on the back seat. "Get in the front, Noah." "Give her space," Ethan instructed, but Noah shook his head fiercely. "She needs me, Daddy. She's scared." Without waiting for permission, he climbed into the back, sitting on the floor of the truck beside the seat where the dog lay. His small hand rested on her head, stroking her wet fur. "It's okay, doggy. We're gonna take care of you now." The drive home was tense, with Ethan constantly checking the rearview mirror to make sure the dog was still breathing. Noah kept whispering to her, words of comfort and promise that made Ethan's throat tighten. "You're going to love our house. It's not very big, but it's warm, and I'll share my blanket with you. And your babies can sleep in my toy box. I don't use it much anymore." Their small house on the edge of town was dark when they pulled up, the porch light casting weak yellow pools in the rain. Ethan carried the dog inside, while Noah ran ahead, turning on lights and grabbing more blankets from the linen closet. "Put her here, Daddy." Noah had already arranged a nest of blankets in the corner of their living room. Ethan gently laid the dog down, noting with concern how her breathing seemed even more labored now. "She needs a vet, Noah." Noah was already bringing a bowl of water, carefully placing it near the dog's mouth. "Can we call the animal doctor? Like when Mr. Peterson's cat ate a rubber band?" Ethan pulled out his phone, scrolling through contacts until he found Dr. Lila Walker's number. She was the local veterinarian who had helped them when they'd found an injured bird in their backyard last spring. Noah had been devastated when the bird didn't make it, despite Dr. Lila's best efforts. The call connected, but Dr. Lila's voice was broken by static. "Ethan, is that you? The connection's terrible." "Doctor, Lila, we found a dog, a German shepherd. She's pregnant and in bad shape. Can you come?" "The storm's washed out Bridge Road. I'm stuck on the other side of town." Her voice faded in and out. "Can you bring her to the clinic?" Ethan looked at the dog, at how every breath seemed to take monumental effort. "I don't think she'd survive the trip." "Okay, I'll talk you through emergency care. First, check if she's..." The call dropped suddenly, leaving Ethan staring at his phone in frustration. "The phone's not working, buddy," he told Noah, who looked up with tears in his eyes. "Is she going to die, Daddy?" Ethan crouched beside his son, placing a hand on his small shoulder. "I don't know, buddy, but we're going to do everything we can to help her, okay?" Noah nodded solemnly. "She needs a name." "A name? Everyone needs a name. It helps them fight better." Noah's logic, so simple yet profound, made Ethan smile despite the situation. "What name are you thinking?" Noah tilted his head, studying the dog with intense concentration. "Luna," he finally declared, "because she's pretty like the moon." "Luna it is," Ethan agreed, then set to work doing what he could for the newly named dog. He cleaned her wounds with warm water and the antiseptic from their first aid kit. He offered her small sips of water, which she took weakly. He even tried to get her to eat some leftover chicken from their dinner, but she turned her head away. As Ethan worked, he noticed something odd, a scar on Luna's ear. It wasn't a random injury, but a deliberate mark, as if someone had tagged her. The realization that Luna might have belonged to someone before, someone who had abandoned her in this condition, made anger rise in Ethan's chest. "Who would do this to you, girl?" he whispered, gently examining the marking. Luna's eyes opened slightly at his touch, looking at him with what seemed like understanding. Noah had fallen asleep beside Luna, his small body curled protectively next to her, one hand still resting on her fur. Ethan covered him with a light blanket, not having the heart to move him to his bed. The storm continued to rage outside, but inside their small house, a fragile peace had settled. Ethan made himself a cup of coffee, knowing he wouldn't be sleeping tonight. He needed to watch over Luna, make sure she kept breathing until morning, when hopefully the roads would be clear enough for Dr. Lila to reach them. As he sat in the armchair, watching Noah and Luna in the dim light, Ethan couldn't help but wonder what twist of fate had brought this dying dog into their lives tonight. Was it just coincidence that Noah had spotted her? Or was it something more, a connection that had somehow already formed between his son and this abandoned creature? Luna's breathing had stabilized somewhat, though it was still shallow. Occasionally her body would twitch, perhaps from pain, or perhaps from dreams of running free somewhere far from garbage heaps and rain-soaked nights. Ethan's phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Lila. "Road still blocked. How's the dog? Any bleeding or discharge?" He texted back, breathing steady but weak. "No visible bleeding. Very malnourished. Ear has strange marking, like a brand or tag." Dr. Lila's response came quickly. "Take photos of marking. Could help identify her. Keep her warm. Offer water but no food yet until I can examine. We'll try to get through by morning." Ethan snapped a picture of the ear marking and sent it. Then he settled back in his chair, watching the slow rise and fall of Luna's chest, the peaceful sleep of his son beside her. Outside, the storm began to subside, rain tapping more gently against the windows. The worst had passed, at least for now. But Ethan knew that for Luna, the fight was just beginning. Would she survive the night? Would her puppies? And what would happen if she did make it? Could they really take care of a dog and her litter? Questions swirled in Ethan's mind as he kept his vigil through the long night hours. But one thing was already certain. Noah had formed a bond with Luna that wouldn't be easily broken. The way she had responded to his touch, the way he refused to leave her side, it was as if they had recognized something in each other, some shared experience of loss or pain. As dawn approached, turning the rain-washed world outside gray and misty, Ethan realized something else. For the first time in a long time, Noah had fallen asleep without asking for a story about his mother, without needing the extra nightlight, without the small rituals they had developed to keep the nightmares at bay. Instead, he slept peacefully beside Luna, his face relaxed, one hand still protectively touching her fur. And Luna, despite her weakness, had curled her body slightly around Noah, as if even in her desperate state, her instinct was to protect. Ethan reached for his phone and took a picture of them together, not to share with anyone, but to remember this moment. A moment when an abandoned dog and a grieving boy found each other in the midst of a storm, and something broken in both of them began, perhaps, to heal. Morning arrived with weak sunlight filtering through the curtains. Ethan had dozed off in the armchair, his neck stiff and aching. He jerked awake at the sound of Noah's voice. "Daddy, Luna's looking at me." Ethan rubbed his eyes, disoriented for a moment. He had been certain the dog wouldn't make it through the night, but there she was, her eyes open, watching Noah with what almost looked like recognition. "She's still very weak, buddy," Ethan cautioned, kneeling beside them. "But she's a fighter." Luna's breathing remained shallow, but there was something different about her now, a spark in her eyes that hadn't been there the night before. It was as if she had made a decision sometime in the dark hours, a decision to live. "Can she have breakfast?" Noah asked, already heading toward the kitchen. "Just water for now," Ethan called after him. "Doctor?" Lila said no food until she examines her. Noah returned with a bowl of fresh water, setting it carefully near Luna's muzzle. "Here you go, Luna. You need to drink so your babies can grow strong." Luna lifted her head slightly, a small movement that seemed to cost her great effort, and lapped weakly at the water. Noah beamed as if he'd just witnessed a miracle. Ethan's phone buzzed. It was Doctor. Lila. Road's clearing. Should be able to reach you in about an hour. Relief washed over him. Luna had made it through the night, but she still needed proper medical care. The morning light revealed how truly emaciated she was, her ribs clearly visible beneath her dull fur, her pregnant belly looking almost grotesquely swollen in comparison to her thin frame. "Doctor, Lila's coming soon," Ethan told Noah. "She'll help Luna feel better." Noah nodded solemnly, then leaned close to Luna's ear. "The animal doctor is coming. She's really nice. She helped a bird once, but it died. But you won't die. You have to stay with us now." The simple, direct way children address death had always amazed Ethan. Noah had been just 3 when his mother died, yet he seemed to understand the fragile line between life and death better than most adults Ethan knew. While they waited for Dr. Lila, Ethan made breakfast for Noah and tidied up the house. He kept glancing at Luna, watching for any sign that she was getting worse. But she remained stable, her eyes following Noah whenever he moved around the room, as if she didn't want to let him out of her sight. The doorbell rang just after 9. Dr. Lila stood on the porch, her medical bag in hand, looking tired but determined. "Sorry it took so long," she said, stepping inside and shaking off her rain jacket. "The storm did a number on the roads." "Thank you for coming," Ethan said, leading her to where Luna lay. Noah immediately positioned himself protectively beside the dog. "This is Luna," he announced. "She's going to have babies." Dr. Lila smiled gently at Noah. "Hello there, I remember you. You helped me with that little bird last spring, right?" Noah nodded, his expression serious. "But Luna won't die like the bird did. She promised me." Dr. Lila exchanged a quick glance with Ethan, then crouched beside Luna. "Well, let's take a look at her, shall we?" The examination was thorough. Dr. Lila checked Luna's vital signs, her teeth, her eyes, the mark on her ear. She felt the swollen belly carefully, her expression giving nothing away. "How is she?" Ethan asked when Dr. Lila finally sat back on her heels. "She's severely malnourished and dehydrated," Dr. Lila said softly. "And there's evidence of previous injuries that have healed poorly. But the puppies seem to be alive. I can feel them moving." Noah's face brightened. "The babies are okay?" "They're hanging in there," Dr. Lila confirmed. "But Luna is going to need a lot of care. She's very weak, and giving birth in this condition will be dangerous for her." "But you can help her, right?" Noah's eyes filled with tears. "You can make her better?" Dr. Lila smiled gently. "I'm going to do everything I can. First, we need to get some nutrients into her." She reached into her bag and pulled out several items: a bag of fluid, syringes, a small container of what looked like a thick gel. "I'm going to give her some fluids under her skin," she explained to Noah. "It won't hurt her, but it will help her feel better. And this," she held up the gel, "is a high-calorie supplement that will give her energy." Noah watched attentively as Dr. Lila worked, asking questions about everything she did. His fear seemed to have transformed into focused curiosity, as if understanding the process would somehow guarantee Luna's recovery. "The mark on her ear," Ethan said quietly while Dr. Lila administered the fluids. "Have you ever seen anything like it?" A shadow crossed Dr. Lila's face. "Unfortunately, yes. It looks like a breeder's mark, but not from any legitimate breeder. This type of marking is sometimes used in less reputable operations." "You mean like puppy mills?" Ethan asked, keeping his voice low so Noah wouldn't hear. "Possibly, Doctor," Lila nodded. "Or worse, the police found a dog-fighting ring about 50 miles north of here last month. Some of the breeding females had similar markings." Ethan felt sick. The thought of Luna being used for such purposes, then discarded when she became pregnant, was almost too much to bear. "Do you think she escaped?" he asked. "It's possible. Or she might have been abandoned when they realized she was pregnant. Either way, she's been on her own for a while. The fact that she's survived this long, carrying a litter in her condition, is remarkable." As they spoke, Luna's eyes suddenly opened wide, her body tensing. A low whine escaped her throat. "What's happening?" Noah asked, his voice rising with panic. "Is she hurt?" Dr. Lila quickly moved to examine Luna. "I think she might be going into labor," she said, her voice calm but urgent. "The trauma and stress of the last day might have triggered it." "Is that bad?" Ethan asked, watching as Luna's body seemed to contract slightly. "It's not ideal, Doctor," Lila admitted. "She's very weak, But these puppies are coming, ready or not. Noah's eyes grew wide. The babies are coming now? It looks that way, doctor, Lila nodded. Noah, can you be my special assistant? Luna needs someone she trusts to keep her calm. Noah straightened his shoulders, nodding solemnly. I can do that. Good. Sit right there by her head. Talk to her softly. Let her know everything's going to be okay. While Noah stroked Luna's head, whispering words of comfort, Dr. Lila quickly transformed the living room into a makeshift delivery area. She laid down clean towels, prepared warm water, and arranged her medical supplies within easy reach. This could take a while, she warned Ethan. First-time births are often slow, especially when the mother is in weakened condition. Hours passed in tense anticipation. Luna's contractions grew stronger, but seemed to exhaust what little strength she had. By noon, she was panting heavily, her sides heaving with effort, but no puppies had appeared. Is something wrong? Ethan asked quietly, pulling Dr. Lila aside, while Noah remained focused on Luna. Dr. Lila's expression was grim. She's struggling. She may not have the strength to deliver these puppies naturally. I'm worried we might lose them all, Luna included, if this goes on much longer. Ethan glanced at Noah, at the hope and determination on his son's face. What can we do? I have some medication that might help strengthen her contractions. It's risky in her condition, but at this point, I think we need to try. Dr. Lila administered the medication, and within half an hour, Luna's contractions visibly intensified. She whimpered, her body trembling with effort. It's working, doctor, Lila said, relief evident in her voice. I think the first puppy is coming. Noah leaned close to Luna's ear. You can do it, Luna. Push the babies out. They want to meet you. With a final, powerful contraction, the first tiny puppy emerged, a small, dark bundle still encased in its birth sac. Dr. Lila quickly cleared the membrane from the puppy's face, but the tiny creature lay motionless in her hands. Why isn't it moving, doctor? Lila, Noah asked, his voice trembling. Dr. Lila worked quickly, rubbing the puppy with a towel, trying to stimulate its breathing, but the puppy remained still, its tiny body limp and unresponsive. Sometimes, Dr. Lila began gently, the first puppy has the hardest journey. This little one was probably in the birth canal too long because Luna didn't have the strength to push properly. Noah's face crumpled, tears welling in his eyes. No, the puppy can't die. He reached out, his small hand hovering over the still form. Please wake up, baby dog. Luna needs you. Dr. Lila's eyes met Ethan's over Noah's head. The unspoken message was clear. This puppy was gone, but Noah refused to accept it. Let me try, he begged, holding out his hands. Please. Reluctantly, Dr. Lila placed the lifeless puppy in Noah's palms. The contrast was heartbreaking. The small, dark puppy cradled in the boy's even smaller hands. Noah bent his head close to the puppy, his tears falling onto its damp fur. You have to wake up, he whispered. Your mommy escaped the bad place to save you. You have to live now. He gently rubbed the puppy's chest with his thumb, mimicking what he'd seen Dr. Lila do. Breathe, baby dog. Please breathe. The room fell silent except for Luna's labored panting and Noah's soft pleas. Ethan felt a lump forming in his throat. He wanted to pull Noah away, to spare him this harsh lesson, but something held him back. Then, just as Dr. Lila was about to intervene, a miracle happened. The tiny puppy in Noah's hands gave a feeble twitch, then another, and suddenly a high-pitched squeak, barely audible but unmistakably the sound of life. It's alive! Noah cried, his face transforming with wonder. Daddy! Doctor! Lila, look! The puppy's alive! Dr. Lila quickly took the puppy, examining it with astonishment. I don't believe it, she murmured. Its heartbeat is stabilizing. She looked at Noah with newfound respect. You did it, Noah. You saved this puppy. Noah beamed, tears still streaming down his face, but now from joy rather than sorrow. I told you Luna's babies had to live. The tiny puppy, now breathing steadily, was placed near Luna's head. She weakly nuzzled it, her eyes seeming to shine with a mother's love, despite her exhaustion. But there was no time to celebrate. Luna's body contracted again. The next puppy was coming. This time, the delivery was quicker, and the puppy emerged already squirming and squeaking. Dr. Lila cleaned it efficiently, checking its vitals before placing it beside its sibling. 2 down, she said, her voice more optimistic now. And this one looks strong. Over the next hour, 2 more puppies arrived, tiny replicas of their mother with varying patterns of tan and black. Each one cried immediately, their small paws flailing as Dr. Lila cleaned them and checked them over. Luna, though clearly exhausted, tried to attend to each new arrival, licking them weakly when they were placed near her. "Is that all of them?" Noah asked, his eyes wide with wonder, as he counted the 4 squirming puppies now nestled against Luna's side. Dr. Lila gently palpated Luna's abdomen. "I think there's one more," she said. "Luna, you're almost done, girl. Just one more push." Luna's eyes seemed to show understanding, but her body was failing her. The contractions had weakened and she lay panting, too exhausted to deliver the final puppy. "She can't do it," Ethan said, alarmed by how Luna's breathing had grown shallow. "She's giving up." Dr. Lila's expression was grave. "The last puppy is stuck. If we don't get it out soon, we'll lose both the puppy and possibly Luna." Noah, who had been quietly watching the procedure, suddenly placed his small hands on Luna's distended belly. "Luna," he said, his voice surprisingly firm for a 5-year-old. "You have to push one more time. One more baby needs you. You can't give up now." Something in Noah's voice seemed to reach Luna, her amber eyes fixed on the boy's face, and with what seemed like her last ounce of strength, her body contracted one final time. The last puppy arrived, larger than the others, with a distinctive white patch on its chest. Unlike its siblings, this puppy didn't cry immediately. Dr. Lila worked quickly, clearing its airways, rubbing its tiny body with brisk movements. "Come on, little one," she murmured. "Your siblings made it. You can too." Noah leaned forward, his eyes never leaving the puppy. "Wake up," he whispered. "Please wake up." Then, as if it had heard him, the puppy gave a mighty squeak, louder than any of its siblings. Its tiny legs kicked vigorously, as if indignant about being the last to arrive. "That's a fighter right there," Dr. Lila laughed, relief evident in her voice. She placed the final puppy alongside its brothers and sisters. 5 healthy puppies. It's a miracle, considering everything Luna's been through. Noah counted them again, his finger hovering over each tiny body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 babies! He looked up at Dr. Lila and his father, his face radiant with happiness. "Luna's a mommy now." "She is," Dr. Lila agreed, checking Luna's vital signs. "And she's done an amazing job, but she needs rest now. She's very weak from the delivery." Ethan watched as the 5 puppies, blind and helpless, instinctively found their way to Luna's belly, latching on to nurse. Luna, despite her exhaustion, curled her body protectively around them, her eyes half closed but vigilant. "Will she be okay now?" Noah asked, his small face serious as he stroked Luna's head. Dr. Lila considered her answer carefully. "She's still very weak, Noah, but she's shown incredible strength today. The next 24 hours will be crucial, but I'm more hopeful now than I was this morning." Noah nodded, accepting this cautious assessment. "She'll stay with us, right, Daddy? Her and all the puppies?" Ethan looked at the scene before him, the exhausted mother dog, the 5 tiny puppies, and his son, whose compassion had somehow breathed life into a seemingly hopeless situation. How could he possibly say no? "Yes, buddy," he said softly. "They'll stay with us." Noah's face lit up with joy. "Did you hear that, Luna? This is your home now. Forever." Luna's tail thumped weakly against the blankets, once, twice, before she closed her eyes, finally allowing herself to rest now that her puppies were safely delivered. Dr. Lila stayed for several more hours, showing Ethan and Noah how to care for the newborn puppies and their mother. She mixed a special formula for Luna that would help her produce milk despite her malnourished state, and demonstrated how to bottle feed the puppies if Luna couldn't manage on her own. "Call me anytime," she said as she prepared to leave. "Day or night, I want updates on this miracle family." After she left, Ethan and Noah sat quietly beside Luna and her puppies, watching the small miracle that had unfolded in their living room. The tiny puppies, their eyes still closed, squirmed and squeaked as they nursed, occasionally pausing to sleep before hunger drove them to feed again. "They need names," Noah declared, studying each puppy carefully. "All 5 of them?" Ethan asked, smiling at his son's serious expression. Noah nodded. "The first one should be called Miracle," he said, pointing to the puppy that had seemingly come back from the dead. Because he was a miracle. That's a perfect name, Ethan agreed. What about the others? Noah considered each puppy in turn. This one is Shadow, he said, pointing to the darkest puppy. And this one is Sunny, he continued, indicating a primarily tan puppy. This little one can be Stormy, he decided for the fourth puppy, because we found them in the storm. And the last one? Ethan prompted, gesturing to the largest puppy with the white chest patch. Noah thought for a long moment, his brow furrowed in concentration. Star, he finally announced, because the white spot looks like a star. Miracle, Shadow, Sunny, Stormy, and Star, Ethan repeated. They're good names, buddy? Luna likes them too, Noah said confidently, as Luna's tail gave another weak thump. That evening, Ethan made a simple dinner while Noah kept watch over Luna and the puppies. He had to coax his son away from them just long enough to eat something, and even then, Noah kept glancing anxiously toward the corner where the new family rested. They'll be okay for a few minutes, Ethan assured him. Luna's taking good care of them. I know, Noah said, picking at his macaroni and cheese, but I promised I'd take care of all of them. As darkness fell outside, Ethan knew Noah wouldn't want to sleep in his own bed tonight. He brought pillows and blankets from Noah's room, creating a comfortable spot for him near Luna, but not so close as to disturb the puppies. You can sleep here tonight, he told Noah, but you have to promise to actually sleep. Luna and the puppies need their rest too. Noah nodded solemnly. I promise. I'll just watch them until they fall asleep. Ethan smiled, ruffling his son's hair. All right. I'll be right over there on the couch if you need me. As Ethan settled onto the couch with a book, he watched his son lying beside Luna, whispering to her so quietly he couldn't make out the words. Luna's eyes were fixed on Noah's face, as if she understood every word. One by one, the puppies, their bellies full, fell into the deep sleep of the newly born. Eventually, Luna's eyes closed too, her body relaxing as she surrendered to exhaustion. Only then did Noah close his own eyes, one hand still resting gently on Luna's side, rising and falling with her breaths. Ethan sat watching them, long after Noah had fallen asleep. In the soft glow of the lamp, they looked like a tableau of perfect contentment, the boy, the dog, and her puppies, all safe and together. It was hard to believe that just 24 hours ago, Luna had been dying alone in a garbage dump, and Noah had been a quiet, somewhat withdrawn child, still processing his grief. Something had changed today. Some burden had lightened. Some connection had been forged that went beyond a boy and his dog. Ethan couldn't quite put it into words, but he felt it in the peaceful atmosphere that had settled over their small home. As he finally turned off the lamp and closed his own eyes, Ethan found himself thinking of his late wife. She had always wanted a dog, but their busy lives had made it impractical. He wondered what she would think of their sudden expansion from a family of 2 to a family of 8. Somehow, he felt she would approve. In the darkness, one of the puppies, Miracle perhaps, gave a tiny, contented sigh that seemed to echo through the quiet room. It was the sound of new life, of hope, of beginnings. And for the first time in a very long time, Ethan fell asleep with a sense of peace, as if the storm clouds that had hung over their lives had finally begun to part, allowing a ray of sunlight to break through. The next few days passed in a blur of puppy care and cautious optimism. Luna grew stronger with each passing day. Though she remained thin despite the special diet Dr. Lila had prescribed, her maternal instincts were strong, and she rarely left her puppy's side except to eat and go outside, briefly when Ethan coaxed her. Noah had taken to his role as puppy helper with remarkable dedication. Every morning before school, he would check on each puppy, counting them as if afraid one might have vanished in the night. After school, he would rush home, barely taking time to drop his backpack before settling beside Luna's nest to tell her about his day. On the 5th day after the puppy's birth, while Noah was at school, Ethan took the opportunity to give Luna a proper bath. She was still skittish around anyone but Noah, but she seemed to trust Ethan enough to allow the gentle cleaning. As he carefully washed the mud and grime from her coat, he noticed something odd beneath the dirt on her shoulder, another mark, similar to the one on her ear, but more elaborate. Frowning, Ethan took a photo and sent it to Dr. Lila with a text. Found another marking on Luna. Ever seen anything like this? Dr. Lila's response came quickly. That's not good. Coming over after clinic hours. Don't share this with Noah yet. The serious tone of her message left Ethan uneasy. He finished Luna's bath, dried her thoroughly, and settled her back with her puppies, who had been squeaking indignantly at their mother's brief absence. That evening, after Noah had gone to bed, reluctantly, and only after Ethan had promised to check on the puppies every 15 minutes, Dr. Lila arrived with a grim expression. "I did some research on that marking," she said quietly as they sat at the kitchen table, far enough from Noah's room to talk without being overheard. "It's a specific tag used by a man named Victor Rain. He runs what appears to be a legitimate German Shepherd breeding operation about 60 miles from here." "But it's not legitimate?" Ethan guessed, noting her expression. Dr. Lila shook her head. "On the surface it is. But there have been rumors for years that his reject breeding dogs end up in fighting rings. The police have investigated several times, but never found enough evidence to shut him down." "And you think Luna came from there?" "The markings match, and the timing fits too. The police raided a dog-fighting operation 3 weeks ago, about 40 miles north of here. They found evidence linking it to Rain, but he claimed ignorance, said some of his dogs had been stolen." She paused, looking troubled. "Several female breeding dogs were missing from the raid. The police assumed they'd been moved before the raid, but Luna might have been one of them," Ethan finished, "and she escaped during the confusion. Possibly, the fact that she was pregnant would explain why they'd want to find her. Those puppies, if they're purebred from Rain's breeding stock, would be valuable to him." Ethan felt cold at the implication. "You think someone's looking for her?" "I don't know, but we should be careful." Dr. Lila hesitated, then added, "I reported the markings to Officer Bennett. He's the one who led the raid. He said he'd look into it quietly." After Dr. Lila left, Ethan found himself checking the locks twice before going to bed. The thought that Luna might have escaped from something far worse than simple abandonment, and that someone might be looking for her, left him deeply unsettled. The next morning, while making breakfast, Ethan noticed a car he didn't recognize parked across the street. It was an ordinary black sedan, nothing remarkable about it, but something in the way it sat there, engine off, but no one emerging, raised the hairs on the back of his neck. "Noah, why don't you eat in the living room today?" he suggested casually. "You can keep Luna company." Noah, delighted at this unexpected break from the usual rules, happily took his cereal to the living room. Once he was out of earshot, Ethan called Dr. Lila. "There's a car watching the house," he said quietly. "Black sedan, tinted windows. Been there about 20 minutes. "Don't go outside," Dr. Lila said immediately. "I'm calling Officer Bennett right now." But by the time Ethan looked again, the car was gone. He told himself he was overreacting, that it was probably just someone waiting for a friend or looking at directions. Yet the uneasiness lingered. That afternoon, Ethan's phone rang with an unknown number. When he answered, there was nothing but silence on the other end, just the sound of someone breathing. After a few seconds, the call disconnected. 5 minutes later, it rang again, the same number. This time, when Ethan answered, the caller spoke. "I believe you have something that belongs to us," a male voice said. The tone was pleasant, almost friendly, but it sent a chill down Ethan's spine. "I don't know what you're talking about," Ethan replied, turning away from Noah, who was playing with the puppies, their eyes now open and blinking curiously at the world. "Come now, Mr. Matthews. The German Shepherd. She's quite valuable to us, especially with her litter. We're prepared to be generous, say $5,000 for the dog and her puppies. That's a lot of money for a construction worker raising a child alone." The fact that the caller knew his name, his occupation, his family situation, made Ethan's blood run cold. "I think you have the wrong number," he said, and hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Ethan silenced it and blocked the number. But the damage was done. They knew where he lived. They knew about Luna. They knew about Noah. That night, after Noah was asleep, Ethan called Officer Bennett directly. "I got a call today," he explained. "Someone offering money for Luna and the puppies. They knew my name, what I do for a living, that I'm a single father. They've been watching us." Officer Bennett's response was immediate and serious. "I'll have a patrol car drive by your house regularly. In the meantime, keep your doors locked. Don't let Luna outside alone. And if you see that car again, or get another call, contact me immediately." Ethan hung up, feeling only slightly reassured. He checked the locks again, then settled on the couch, unable to sleep. Luna, seeming to sense his unease, lifted her head from her puppy nest and watched him with alert eyes. "It's okay, girl," he told her softly. "No one's going to take you or your puppies. I promise." Luna's ears perked up suddenly, her body tensing. A low growl started in her throat. The first aggressive sound Ethan had heard from her. Her eyes were fixed on the front window. Ethan froze, listening. Had that been a creak on the porch step? Silently, he reached for his phone, ready to call Officer Bennett. But before he could dial, headlights swept across the living room as a car pulled into the driveway. Relief washed over him as he recognized Dr. Lila's SUV. He opened the door to find her looking worried, a large bag slung over her shoulder. "I couldn't sleep," she admitted. "Thought I'd check on Luna and the puppies, and maybe keep watch for a while." Ethan wanted to hug her. "You have no idea how glad I am to see you." They took turns keeping watch through the night, but nothing happened. By morning, Ethan had almost convinced himself he'd overreacted. Almost. He called into work, claiming a family emergency. His boss, understanding if not entirely pleased, gave him the day off. Ethan spent it reinforcing the locks on the windows and doors, installing a simple security camera system he picked up from the hardware store, and watching the street for unfamiliar cars. For 3 days, nothing happened. No strange calls, no watching cars. Luna and her puppies thrived, the tiny bundles of fur growing more active each day. The puppies' eyes were fully open now, their small paws batting at each other as they played. Noah spent hours watching them, delighted by every small development. On the 4th night, Ethan was awakened by Luna's growl, low, deep, and unmistakably threatening. He sat up, instantly alert. Noah was still asleep, curled up in his bed, having finally agreed to sleep in his own room as long as the door remained open so he could hear the puppies. Luna stood rigid by the front door, her hackles raised, teeth bared. The transformation from the gentle, weakened dog they had rescued to this fierce guardian was startling. Outside, Ethan heard the soft crunch of footsteps on gravel, someone trying to move quietly around the side of the house. Heart pounding, Ethan grabbed his phone and dialed Officer Bennett's number. "Someone's outside my house," he whispered when the officer answered. "Luna's growling at the door. Stay inside, lock yourself and your son in a room with the dog if you can. Officers are on their way." But even as Bennett spoke, Ethan heard the distinctive sound of glass breaking. Someone was forcing open the kitchen window. "They're breaking in," he whispered, then ended the call. He moved quietly to Noah's room, gathering his sleeping son in his arms. "Daddy?" Noah mumbled, half awake. "What's happening?" "Shh, buddy. We need to be very quiet," Ethan whispered, carrying Noah to the bathroom, the only room in the small house with a lock on the door. "Stay here. Don't come out until I come get you." "But what about Luna and the puppies?" Noah asked, suddenly wide awake and alarmed. "I'll protect them," Ethan promised, though he had no idea how he would do that. "Just stay here. Lock the door." He closed the bathroom door, hearing the lock click into place. Then he moved back to the living room, where Luna still stood guard, her growl growing louder as the sounds of someone moving through the kitchen became clearer. Ethan grabbed a baseball bat from the closet, the only weapon he had, and positioned himself between Luna's nest and the kitchen door. Luna moved to stand beside him, her body tense, ready to spring. The kitchen door swung open. A man stood there, dressed in dark clothes, his face partially obscured by a ski mask. Behind him, a second intruder was visible. "Just hand over the dog and the pups," the first man said, his voice the same one Ethan had heard on the phone. "No one needs to get hurt." "Get out of my house," Ethan said, gripping the bat tighter. "The police are on their way." The man smiled, an unsettling sight beneath the mask. "We'll be long gone before they arrive." He took a step forward, reaching into his jacket. "Now, be reasonable. This doesn't have to get messy." What happened next occurred so quickly that Ethan could barely process it. Luna launched herself at the intruder with a ferocity that belied her still recovering state. Her teeth found the man's arm, clamping down with a vicious growl. The man yelled in pain, trying to shake her off. His companion rushed forward, but Ethan swung the bat, forcing him back. "Get this mutt off me," the first man shouted, finally managing to throw Luna off. She hit the wall with a yelp, but immediately regained her footing, placing herself between the intruders and her puppies. The sound of sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. The second intruder grabbed his partner's arm. "We need to go! Now!" The first man hesitated, his eyes darting from Luna to the puppies to Ethan. "This isn't over," he said, backing toward the kitchen. "Those dogs belong to us." "They belong to my son," Ethan said firmly. "And if you ever come near my family again, you'll get worse than a dog bite." The intruders fled through the kitchen and out the broken window just as the police car screeched to a halt outside. Ethan rushed to the bathroom, unlocking the door to find Noah huddled in the bathtub, tears streaming down his face. "Daddy, I heard Luna barking. Are the puppies okay?" Ethan gathered Noah in his arms. "Everyone's safe, buddy. The police are here now." They emerged to find Officer Bennett and another officer securing the house. Luna had returned to her puppies, checking each one anxiously before settling back with them, her eyes still alert, watching the kitchen door. "You got a good look at them?" Bennett asked, notebook in hand. Ethan described the intruders as best he could. The one who spoke, I'm sure it was the same voice from the phone, and Luna bit him. "There should be blood, DNA." Bennett nodded. "We'll process the scene. In the meantime, you and your son should pack some things. You can't stay here tonight. That window needs to be properly secured. Is there somewhere you can go?" "They can stay with me, Doctor," Lila said from the doorway. She must have been called by the police. "My clinic has good security, and there's an apartment upstairs." Noah, who had been clinging to Ethan's side, looked up with tear-filled eyes. "But what about Luna and the puppies? We can't leave them." "They're coming too, of course," Dr. Lila assured him. "I've got plenty of room for all of you." As they quickly packed overnight bags, Ethan watched Noah carefully gather each puppy, speaking softly to them as he placed them in the large carrier Dr. Lila had brought. Luna watched anxiously but didn't interfere, as if she understood that Noah was protecting her babies. "It's okay, Luna," Noah told her, stroking her head. "The bad men wanted to take you, but we won't let them. You're our family now." In the safety of Dr. Lila's clinic, with Luna and the puppies settled in a comfortable pen and Noah finally asleep on a pull-out couch, Ethan and Dr. Lila sat talking in low voices. "Officer Bennett called while you were getting Noah to sleep," she said. "They found blood on the windowsill, and there's more. The man Luna bit dropped something in the struggle." She held up an evidence bag containing what looked like a key card. "It has the logo of Rain's breeding facility on it." "So it was them," Ethan said grimly. "They want Luna back. And the puppies, especially if they're purebred from his prize breeding stock." Dr. Lila hesitated. "Ethan, these aren't people who give up easily, and they clearly know where you live. What are you suggesting?" Maybe it would be safer for Noah if you considered finding another home for Luna and the puppies, somewhere far from here, where Rain couldn't find them." Ethan thought of Noah's face as he had carefully moved each puppy, of the way Luna looked at his son as if he were her own pup. "I can't do that to Noah," he said quietly. "He's already lost his mother. I can't take away Luna and the puppies too. They're family now." Dr. Lila nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Then we need a plan, because Rain will try again." The next morning, Officer Bennett arrived with news. "We identified one of the intruders from the blood sample, guy named Marcus Delgado. He's worked for Rain for years, officially as a kennel manager. He has priors for assault and animal cruelty." "Have you arrested him?" Bennett's expression was grim. "We went to pick him up. He's gone. Rain claims he quit without notice yesterday. We're looking for him, but..." He shrugged. "These guys are slippery." A small sound made them all turn. Noah stood in the doorway, Luna at his side. He must have heard at least a part of their conversation. "They're coming back for Luna, aren't they?" he asked, his voice small but determined. Ethan moved to his son, crouching to his level. "We don't know that, buddy, but even if they try, we won't let them take her or the puppies. I promise." Noah's small hand rested on Luna's head. "Luna would fight them. She's brave." His expression grew fierce, unexpectedly mature. "And so am I. If they come back, I'll protect her, just like she protected us." Something in Noah's declaration, the unflinching courage of a 5-year-old boy ready to stand between his dog and danger, struck Ethan to the core. This was not just about a rescued dog anymore. This was about his son finding his voice, his strength, his purpose. "We'll protect her together," Ethan said, pulling Noah close. "All of us." Luna pressed against Noah's side, her eyes watching the door as if she understood every word. She was no longer the dying dog they had found in the garbage dump. She had become a mother, a protector, a fighter, and somehow, in saving her, they had all been transformed. As Officer Bennett prepared to leave, he paused at the door. "I meant to ask, that marking on Luna's shoulder that you photographed, did you notice anything unusual about it? Besides the fact that it's a breeder's tag?" Ethan asked. Bennett nodded. "Look more closely. The man who broke into your house, Delgado, he has the exact same mark tattooed on his arm. It's not just a breeder's tag. It's some kind of identification for Rain's entire operation." The implication was clear and chilling. Luna hadn't just escaped from a bad situation. She had escaped from a man who branded both his dogs and his people. A man who wouldn't stop until he recovered what he considered his property. The danger was far from over. It had only just begun. For the next few days, Ethan, Noah, Luna, and the puppies remained at Dr. Lila's clinic. Officer Bennett had arranged for regular police patrols past Ethan's house. But until the broken window was properly secured and they could be certain Delgado wasn't waiting for them to return, the clinic remained their safest option. Noah didn't seem to mind the temporary relocation. He was fascinated by the clinic, helping Dr. Lila with her animal patients when he wasn't tending to Luna and the puppies. The puppies were growing rapidly, their eyes fully open now, tiny paws batting at each other as they gained coordination. "They're getting so big," Noah remarked one afternoon, watching as Miracle, the runt of the litter, who had so narrowly escaped death, wrestled with his larger sister Star. "They sure are," Ethan agreed. "Pretty soon they'll be running all over the place." Noah's face grew serious. "When can we go home, Daddy? Luna misses our house." Ethan glanced at Luna, who lay watching her puppies with alert eyes. She seemed content enough, but Noah had developed an almost uncanny ability to read the dog's moods. "Soon, buddy. Officer Bennett is making sure our house is safe first." Noah nodded, accepting this explanation with the resilience of childhood. "I think the bad men will come back," he said matter-of-factly. "Luna knows it too." The simple certainty in his son's voice sent a chill down Ethan's spine. Before he could respond, the clinic door opened and Officer Bennett entered, his expression serious. "Can we talk?" he asked Ethan, nodding toward Dr. Lila's office. "Stay with Luna, buddy," Ethan told Noah, who was already absorbed in a game with the puppies again. In the small office, Bennett didn't waste time. "We arrested Delgado," he said without preamble. "He was trying to cross the state line. The bite on his arm got infected. He had to seek medical attention. The hospital recognized the description from our alert." Relief washed over Ethan. "That's great news. So it's over?" Bennett's expression remained grim. "Not exactly. Delgado's not talking, but we found something interesting in his car." He pulled out his phone, showing Ethan a photo of what appeared to be a hand-drawn map. "This was on the passenger seat. It's a map of your neighborhood, with your house circled. And this," he zoomed in on a notation, "is today's date." Ethan felt cold. They were planning to come back, today. Bennett nodded. "Delgado wasn't acting alone. We think the other man who broke into your house, his name is Carter Wheeler, according to Delgado's phone records, is still planning to make a move, and he might have reinforcements." "What about Rain? Can't you arrest him?" "We don't have enough evidence linking him directly to any of this. He claims Delgado and Wheeler were acting on their own, trying to steal valuable breeding stock to start their own operation." Bennett's frustration was evident. "We're watching Rain's facility, but legally, our hands are tied." "So, what do we do?" Ethan asked, glancing through the office window to where Noah sat with Luna and the puppies, blissfully unaware of the danger still looming. "We've got officers watching your house, and we'll escort you back when you're ready. But honestly, these guys are persistent. As long as Luna and those puppies are valuable to them, they'll keep trying." The implication was clear. The danger wouldn't truly be over until Rain and his operation were shut down for good. But how to accomplish that with the limited evidence they had? That evening, as Noah helped Dr. Lila feed the puppies special formula to supplement Luna's milk, Ethan sat deep in thought. There had to be a way to end this, to ensure his family's safety permanently. His phone buzzed with a text from Bennett. "Window fixed. House secure. Can escort you home tomorrow morning." Ethan showed the message to Dr. Layla after Noah had gone to sleep. "What do you think?" he asked. "Is it safe?" Dr. Lila considered the question carefully. "With police protection, probably." But Ethan, this isn't a short-term problem. Those puppies are going to be at risk as long as Rain sees them as his property. I know, Ethan sighed, but we can't hide here forever. As they spoke, Luna suddenly lifted her head, her ears perked forward. She rose from her nest of puppies, moving to the clinic's front window with a low growl building in her throat. Dr. Lila quickly dimmed the lights, peering cautiously through the blinds. "There's a car parked across the street," she whispered. "Dark sedan, engine running." Ethan felt his heart rate accelerate. It could be nothing, just a coincidence. But Luna's reaction suggested otherwise. She knew something was wrong. "Call Bennett," he said quietly, moving to gather the sleeping puppies closer to Luna's nest, away from the windows. Dr. Lila was already dialing. "Officer Bennett, there's a suspicious vehicle outside the clinic. Luna's reacting to it." She paused, listening. "Yes, we've turned off the lights. The doors are locked." She hung up, her expression tense. "He's sending officers now. They're only a few minutes away." Those few minutes stretched endlessly. Luna's growl deepened, her eyes fixed on the front door. Ethan positioned himself between the entrance and the puppies, wishing he had something more substantial than a veterinary broom for protection. The sound of a car door closing outside made them both freeze. Footsteps approached the clinic door, slow, deliberate steps that paused at the entrance. The door handle turned, once, twice, testing the lock. Luna's growl became a snarl, her hackles raised as she planted herself firmly in a protective stance. Then came a sharp sound, metal on metal, as someone attempted to force the lock. Ethan reached for his phone to call 911 when suddenly red and blue lights illuminated the street outside. The police had arrived. The footsteps outside hastily retreated. A car engine roared to life, tires squealing as the sedan peeled away from the curb. Through the blinds, Ethan saw a police cruiser in pursuit, lights flashing and siren wailing. Luna's growl subsided only slightly. She remained vigilant, as if unconvinced the danger had truly passed. 20 minutes later, Officer Bennett arrived at the clinic. "We lost them," he admitted, frustration evident in his voice. "They abandoned the car about 3 miles from here and fled on foot. We're searching the area, but..." He shrugged, the gesture conveying the likelihood of failure. "Did you see who it was?" Ethan asked. "Only a glimpse. One man, matching Wheeler's description. He was wearing gloves, carrying what looked like lockpicks." Bennett's expression was grave. "Ethan, they found you here, which means they've been watching, waiting for an opportunity." The realization was chilling. "We're not safe anywhere, are we?" Bennett hesitated, clearly weighing his next words carefully. "There might be a way to end this permanently," he said finally. "But it's risky, and I wouldn't suggest it if I thought we had any other options." "What are you thinking?" Dr. Lila asked, her voice cautious. "A trap," Bennett said simply. "We use Luna and the puppies as bait. Let Wheeler think he has an opportunity to take them. When he makes his move, we arrest him, and hopefully get enough evidence to bring down Rain too." Ethan's immediate reaction was refusal. Use his family, because that's what Luna and her puppies had become, as bait for dangerous criminals? It was unthinkable. "No," he said firmly. "It's too dangerous. What if something goes wrong? What if they actually manage to take Luna or the puppies?" "We'd have officers in place," Bennett assured him. "Multiple officers, plain clothes. The house would be under constant surveillance. We wouldn't let anything happen to your family." Ethan was still shaking his head when a small voice spoke from the doorway. "Luna wants to do it." They all turned to find Noah standing there, Luna at his side. The German shepherd's posture was alert, her eyes focused and determined. "Noah, you should be asleep," Ethan said gently. "And Luna can't understand what we're talking about, buddy." "Yes, she can," Noah insisted. "She knows the bad men won't stop coming. She wants to protect her babies. And us." Ethan exchanged glances with Dr. Lila and Officer Bennett. Noah's certainty was unnerving, as was the way Luna stood beside him, almost as if they had discussed this together. "It's too dangerous, Noah," Ethan tried again. "Luna and the puppies could get hurt." "More bad men will come if we don't stop them," Noah said with the simple logic of a child. "Luna says we have to be brave." Ethan crouched down to his son's level. "Luna told you that, huh?" Noah nodded solemnly. "Not with words, but I know." He placed his small hand on Luna's head. "She's not scared anymore, Daddy. She's strong now. Looking at Luna, standing tall and confident beside his son, so different from the dying dog they'd found in the garbage dump, Ethan had to admit there was truth in Noah's words. Luna had transformed from a victim into a protector, and perhaps she did understand more than any of them realized. What exactly would we have to do? Ethan asked Bennett, still not fully convinced but willing to listen. The plan, as Bennett outlined it, was relatively straightforward. They would return to Ethan's house, making it appear as if life had returned to normal. Officers would be stationed in unmarked cars nearby and inside the houses of willing neighbors. The moment Wheeler or any of Rain's men made a move, they would be apprehended. Your job is simply to maintain your routine, Bennett explained. Go to work, take Noah to school, act natural. We'll have someone watching the house at all times. And Luna and the puppies? Dr. Lila asked. They should stay inside, in the most secure room of the house. We'll have officers specifically assigned to their protection. Ethan still had reservations, but as the night wore on and they refined the details, he began to see that Bennett's plan offered their best chance at ending the threat permanently. The alternative, living in constant fear, always looking over their shoulders, was no way to raise his son or protect their new family members. All right, he agreed finally, but Noah stays with me at all times. He doesn't go to school until this is over. Agreed, Bennett nodded. We'll move you back home tomorrow morning. With any luck, Wheeler will make his move within a few days. Early the next morning, they packed up their temporary home at the clinic. Noah carefully helped transfer each puppy to the carrier, speaking softly to them as he had since the day of their birth. Luna watched attentively, no longer the anxious mother, but a vigilant guardian. Their return to the house was carefully orchestrated. Police vehicles escorted them, officers checking every room before allowing them inside. The broken window had been replaced, the kitchen cleaned of any evidence of the previous break-in. To all appearances, it was just a normal family, returning home after a brief absence. Remember, act natural, Bennett reminded them before departing. We're watching, even if you can't see us. The first day passed without incident. Ethan worked from home, using his laptop to catch up on design plans for an upcoming construction project. Noah played with the puppies, who were becoming more active by the day, their tiny legs carrying them in wobbly explorations of their surroundings. Luna remained alert, positioning herself where she could see both the front door and her puppies. That night, as Ethan tucked Noah into bed, his son asked the question that had been hovering unspoken between them. What if the bad men take Luna and the puppies while we're sleeping? They won't, buddy, Ethan assured him. Officer Bennett has people watching our house all night, and Luna will alert us if anyone tries to get in. Noah nodded, but his expression remained troubled. Luna says we should keep the puppies in my room tonight. Again, that uncanny connection between his son and the dog surprised Ethan. Luna told you that? In her way, Noah said simply. She's worried about them. Looking at Luna, who sat in the doorway of Noah's room as if standing guard, Ethan decided to trust his son's intuition. All right, we'll move their bed in here for tonight. With the puppies settled in a makeshift nest beside Noah's bed and Luna lying at the foot of the bed, Ethan finally retreated to his own room, leaving both doors open so he could hear any disturbance. Despite his exhaustion, sleep eluded him. Every creak of the house, every distant car passing on the street, set his nerves on edge. Around midnight, his phone buzzed with a text from Bennett. Movement at the back of your property. Stay inside, doors locked. Officers moving in. Ethan slipped quietly to Noah's room. His son was asleep, one arm dangling over the side of the bed, his hand resting on Luna's back. The dog was awake, her eyes gleaming in the darkness, alert but calm. Good girl, Ethan whispered, checking that the window was securely locked. Keep them safe. He moved through the house, confirming all doors and windows were secured, then positioned himself in the living room where he could see both the front and back doors. The minutes ticked by with excruciating slowness. His phone remained silent, no updates from Bennett. Then, a soft sound from outside, the snap of a twig perhaps, or a footstep on gravel. Luna appeared beside him, having left Noah's room silently. Her ears were perked forward, her body tense but controlled. A shadow passed by the living room window, a human shape moving cautiously along the side of the house. Ethan held his breath, trusting the officers outside to handle the situation. But where were they? Why hadn't they moved in? His question was answered by a sudden noise from the kitchen, a metallic scraping that told him someone was working on the back door lock. Had they somehow evaded the police? Luna's growl was low and controlled, her eyes fixed on the kitchen doorway. Ethan reached for his phone to alert Bennett when the back door swung open and a figure slipped inside. In the dim light, Ethan could make out a man's shape, tall, lean, moving with practiced stealth. It wasn't Wheeler, whose stockier build Ethan remembered from the previous break-in. This was someone new. Luna's growl deepened, but she didn't move, seemingly waiting for the intruder to reveal his intentions. The man paused, clearly surprised to find Ethan waiting for him. "Mr. Matthews," he said, his voice cultured, almost pleasant. "I apologize for the late hour." "Victor Rain, I presume," Ethan replied, keeping his voice steady despite the hammering of his heart. Where were the police? Had something gone wrong with the plan? The man inclined his head slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement. "I see my reputation precedes me. I had hoped to resolve this matter more discreetly than my associates managed. By breaking into my house in the middle of the night?" Ethan's hand tightened around his phone. One text to Bennett, that's all he needed to send. "A regrettable necessity," Rain said smoothly. "You have something of mine. I've come to collect it." "Luna doesn't belong to you," Ethan said firmly. "Neither do her puppies." "I beg to differ. That animal represents years of careful breeding, a significant investment. Her offspring are particularly valuable, given their lineage." Rain took a step forward, freezing when Luna's growl intensified. "Call off your dog, Mr. Matthews. This doesn't need to turn unpleasant." "Where are your men?" Ethan asked, stalling for time. "Wheeler and Delgado?" A flicker of annoyance crossed Rain's face. "Mr. Delgado has become unavailable, thanks to your interference. As for Wheeler ... he shrugged. "Let's just say he's ensuring we aren't interrupted." The implication was clear and chilling. Wheeler had somehow neutralized the police surveillance. Ethan and his family were on their own. "You won't take Luna or her puppies," Ethan stated, stepping forward. "They're part of our family now." Rain's pleasant demeanor slipped, revealing something cold and dangerous beneath. "Don't be foolish, Mr. Matthews. It's just a dog, replaceable. Your son, however." He let the threat hang unfinished in the air between them. At the mention of Noah, Luna's posture changed. Her growl became a snarl, her body tensing as if preparing to attack. Rain noticed the shift, his hand moving toward his jacket pocket. "I wouldn't," Ethan warned, finally pressing send on the text to Bennett. "Whatever you're reaching for, it won't be fast enough." What happened next seemed to occur in slow motion. Rain pulled a small device from his pocket, not a weapon, but some kind of remote control. He pointed it at Luna with a confident smile. "This worked quite effectively during her training," he said. "One press, and the shock collar embedded under that scar on her neck will remind her who her true master is." But when he pressed the button, nothing happened. Luna didn't cower or whimper. She remained steadfast, her eyes fixed on Rain with what almost looked like contempt. Confusion flickered across Rain's face. He pressed the button again, more forcefully this time. Still, Luna didn't react. "Looking for this?" Dr. Lila's voice came from the kitchen doorway. She held up a small metal object. "I removed it during her first examination." Barbaric device. Rain's expression hardened. "This is none of your concern, Doctor. Leave now, and I'll forget you were involved." "Actually, it's very much my concern," Dr. Lila replied calmly. "Animal cruelty, illegal breeding practices, threatening a child, all very much my concern." Rain's hand moved again, this time reaching behind his back. But before he could retrieve whatever weapon he had hidden there, Luna moved. She launched herself at Rain with incredible speed, her teeth finding his arm, the same arm that had reached for the hidden weapon. Rain cried out in pain and surprise as he was driven to the floor. Luna's powerful jaws locked on his arm. The sound of breaking glass came from elsewhere in the house, followed by the unmistakable voices of police officers announcing their presence. "Police! Freeze!" Officer Bennett burst into the kitchen, weapon drawn, followed by two other officers. They quickly secured Rain, who was still on the floor, clutching his bleeding arm where Luna had released him. "Perfect timing," Ethan said shakily. "What happened to the surveillance?" "Wheeler tried to create a diversion a few blocks away," Bennett explained. "Set a car on fire to draw officers away. We played along, made him think it worked. He looked at Rain with satisfaction. Didn't expect the boss himself to show up, though. That's a nice bonus. As the officers led Rain away, the man turned back to Ethan, his cultured veneer completely gone now. "This isn't over," he spat. "That dog and her pups are still mine. You'll see." "No," came a small, clear voice from the hallway. "They're ours now." Noah stood there, all 5 puppies gathered protectively behind him. Despite the chaos, his expression was calm and determined. Luna moved to stand beside Noah, forming a united front that seemed to deflate whatever remaining threat Rain had intended to convey. The man was led away, his final glance back containing more confusion than menace, as if he couldn't quite comprehend how his carefully constructed world had been undone by a small boy and a dog he had discarded. In the days that followed, the full extent of Rain's operation was revealed, with evidence from his break-in attempt and testimony from Delgado, who agreed to cooperate in exchange for leniency. The police were able to obtain warrants to search Rain's breeding facility. What they found confirmed their worst suspicions. Dozens of dogs kept in deplorable conditions, evidence of illegal dogfighting connections, and documentation of a network that spanned several states. Luna was one of his prime breeding females, Officer Bennett explained to Ethan a week later, as they sat on the porch watching Noah play with the rapidly growing puppies in the yard. But according to Delgado, she never cooperated with their training methods, too gentle by nature. They were planning to dispose of her when she escaped during the confusion of our raid on the fighting ring. "Dispose of her?" Ethan repeated, feeling sick at the implication. Bennett nodded grimly. Delgado said Rain had ordered her to be put down after she delivered her litter. The puppies would have been kept for breeding or fighting, depending on their temperament. Ethan watched Luna in the yard, now healthy and strong, patiently supervising her puppies' play with Noah. It was hard to imagine anyone wanting to harm such a magnificent animal, harder still to think of the puppies being raised for fighting. "She knew," he said quietly. "Somehow, she knew Noah would save her. That's why she ended up near our road that night." Bennett gave him a curious look. "You sound like Noah. He keeps saying Luna chose you two specifically." Ethan smiled. "Maybe she did. I've stopped questioning the connection between them. Some things can't be explained." Luna's story made the local news, then spread to national outlets. The image of Noah with Luna and her 5 puppies, Miracle, Shadow, Sunny, Stormy, and Star, touched hearts across the country. Donations poured in to support the local animal shelter, and Dr. Lila's clinic was suddenly inundated with offers to adopt rescued animals. "You've started a movement," Dr. Lila told Noah one afternoon, showing him the dozens of adoption applications that had come in. "All these animals will find homes because people heard Luna's story." Noah nodded solemnly, as if this were exactly what he had expected. "Luna says that's why she had to find us, so all the other dogs could be saved too." As the puppies grew from wobbly balls of fur into rambunctious young dogs, Ethan faced a decision. They couldn't realistically keep all 5 puppies, not in their small house with his work schedule. Yet the thought of separating them from Noah and from Luna was painful. The decision was made more complicated by Luna's gradually declining health. Despite Dr. Lila's best care and a nourishing diet, the trauma Luna had suffered before they found her, combined with the strain of delivering and nursing her puppies in such a weakened state, had taken a permanent toll on her body. "Her heart is weakening," Dr. Lila explained gently after an examination, careful to speak out of Noah's earshot. "The malnutrition, the stress, possibly even whatever training methods Rain used, they've all contributed to damage that can't be reversed. She might have a few months, maybe a year if we're lucky." Ethan felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. Does she suffer? Not acutely, no. She's comfortable, especially when she's with Noah. But her body is wearing out faster than it should. The thought of telling Noah that Luna would eventually leave them was almost unbearable. His son had already lost his mother. How could Ethan prepare him for losing Luna too? But children, in their wisdom, sometimes understand more than adults give them credit for. One evening, as Ethan sat on the porch watching the sunset, Noah came to sit beside him, his expression thoughtful. "Luna's going to die, isn't she, Daddy?" he asked quietly. Ethan put his arm around his son's small shoulders. "What makes you ask that, buddy?" "She told me," Noah said simply. "Not with words, but I know she's getting tired. Ethan pulled Noah closer. Doctor, Lila says Luna is sick in a way that can't be fixed, but she's not in pain, and she's very happy with us. Noah nodded, his eyes fixed on Luna, who lay in the yard watching her puppies chase each other. She says she's not scared, she found us, and now her babies are safe. That's all she wanted. Tears pricked at Ethan's eyes. The simple acceptance in his son's voice, neither denying the reality nor raging against it, was both heartbreaking and humbling. "What about the puppies?" Noah asked after a moment. "Can we keep them all?" Ethan had been dreading this question. "I don't think we can, buddy. Our house is too small, and puppies need a lot of attention and space to run." To his surprise, Noah didn't protest. "I know. Luna says they need to go to good homes where they'll be loved, but not just any homes." "What do you mean?" "They each have a special job to do," Noah explained earnestly. "Like Miracle. He's supposed to help people who are sick, and Stormy should be with someone who's scared all the time, because he's brave." Ethan found himself oddly moved by his son's certainty. "And what about the others?" Noah thought for a moment. "Shadow should be with a person who's lonely. Sunny needs to be with kids who are sad, and Star ... He paused. "Star is supposed to stay with us." "Just Star?" Ethan asked gently. "Why her?" "Because she's most like Luna," Noah said, as if this should be obvious. "Luna says Star will remember her and tell me what she wants to say after she's gone." Over the next few weeks, guided by Noah's surprising wisdom and with Dr. Lila's help, they found homes for 4 of the puppies. Miracle went to a therapy dog training program where his calm, intuitive nature made him a natural. Shadow was adopted by an elderly man who had recently lost his wife. Stormy found a home with a family whose daughter suffered from anxiety, and Sunny went to a local children's hospital as a comfort dog for young patients. Each parting was emotional, but Noah handled them with remarkable grace. He spoke privately to each puppy before they left, as if giving them instructions for their new lives, and each new owner promised to bring the puppies back for visits. Star, true to Noah's declaration, remained with them. Of all the puppies, she most resembled Luna with the same intelligent eyes and gentle disposition. The white star-shaped patch on her chest seemed to glow in certain lights, giving her an almost magical appearance. As summer turned to fall, Luna's condition deteriorated more rapidly than Dr. Lila had anticipated. Her once swift movements became slow and deliberate. She tired easily, spending more time resting on the porch than exploring the yard with Star. But her eyes remained alert and loving, especially when watching Noah. On a crisp October morning, Ethan woke to find Noah's bed empty. Alarmed, he rushed through the house, calling his son's name. He found Noah in the backyard, sitting cross-legged in the grass beside Luna, who lay very still, Star curled up against her side. "She wanted to see the sunrise," Noah explained as Ethan approached. "It's her favorite." Ethan crouched beside them, his heart sinking as he observed Luna's labored breathing. Her eyes, though, were peaceful, fixed on Noah's face, as if memorizing every detail. "Should I call Doctor Lila?" Ethan asked softly. Noah shook his head. "Luna says it's okay. She's not scared." They sat together in the yard as the sun rose higher, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and gold. Luna's breathing grew slower, more shallow. Star whined softly, pressing closer to her mother. "It's okay, Luna," Noah whispered, stroking her fur gently. "You can go now. You saved your babies. You saved us. I'll take care of Star, I promise." Luna's eyes, fixed on Noah, seemed to convey a depth of understanding that transcended the barrier between human and animal. With what seemed like enormous effort, she lifted her head one final time, gently licking Noah's hand, the same gesture she had made when they first found her in the garbage dump. Then, as if finally allowing herself to rest, she laid her head down on Noah's lap and closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed further, then stopped altogether. Luna was gone. Tears streamed down Noah's face, but his expression was one of acceptance rather than despair. Star pressed against him, offering comfort even as she experienced her own loss. "She's happy now, Daddy," Noah said, his voice steady despite his tears. "She's not sick anymore. She's running like she used to, before the bad men hurt her." Ethan pulled his son close, his own eyes blurred with tears. "How do you know, buddy?" "I just know," Noah replied simply. Some things you just know. They buried Luna that afternoon in a quiet corner of the backyard, beneath a maple tree whose leaves had turned the same rich gold as Luna's eyes. Noah placed her favorite toy, a soft ball she had carried everywhere in her final weeks, in the grave beside her. Star sat solemn and still throughout the small ceremony, as if understanding the significance of the moment. That night, as Ethan tucked Noah into bed, Star jumped up to lay at his feet, a position her mother had often taken. "Will you be okay, buddy?" Ethan asked, worried about how his son would handle the loss. Noah nodded, one hand resting on Star's head. "Luna's still with us," he said confidently. "Star can feel her too." In the weeks that followed, life gradually settled into a new normal. Star grew into her role as Noah's constant companion, displaying the same protective instincts and gentle nature as her mother. She slept at the foot of Noah's bed each night, accompanied him to school for show and tell, and waited patiently by the window each afternoon for his return. The puppies, no longer puppies but young dogs, visited occasionally with their new families. Each one had thrived in their specially chosen home, just as Noah had predicted. Watching them play together in the yard, Ethan marveled at how one desperate dying dog found in a garbage dump had touched so many lives. One evening, nearly 6 months after Luna's passing, Ethan was awakened by Noah's voice. His son was sitting up in bed, talking softly to Star, who sat alert beside him, her ears perked forward. "What is it, buddy?" Ethan asked, concerned. "Bad dream?" Noah shook his head, his expression serene in the moonlight streaming through the window. "Luna says she's happy now. She's watching us from the stars." "You dreamed about Luna?" Ethan asked gently. "Not a dream," Noah corrected him. "Star told me. She says Luna visits sometimes to make sure we're okay." Ethan started to explain that Star couldn't really talk, that it was probably just a dream, but something stopped him. Who was he to say what connections existed between a boy and his dog? Who was he to define the boundaries between this world and whatever lay beyond? "I believe you," he said instead, sitting on the edge of the bed. Noah smiled, satisfied. "Look," he said, pointing to the window. "Do you see it?" Outside, the night sky was brilliant with stars. As Ethan watched, a shooting star blazed briefly across the darkness, leaving a trail of light that lingered in his vision even after it had disappeared. Just a coincidence, the rational part of his mind insisted. But another part, the part that had watched his son revive a seemingly dead puppy with nothing but love and determination, the part that had witnessed the unbreakable bond between Noah and Luna, wondered if there wasn't something more at work, something beyond rational explanation. Star whined softly, her tail thumping against the bed as she gazed at the night sky. Noah stroked her head, a smile of perfect contentment on his face. "Thank you for finding us, Luna," he whispered to the stars. And though it was surely just his imagination, Ethan could have sworn he heard, just for a moment, the echo of a gentle whine, Luna's distinctive voice, carried on the night breeze that rustled the maple leaves outside the window. Like this story, follow us to hear more incredible tales of love and courage. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and share.